Hello and welcome to the Business Octopus, where we talk about all things sales, marketing, and technology. I'm Avon Collis, CRM and Marketing Automation Specialist at Relevate and all-around good guy. Today, I am joined with Dennis Hall from Direct Dialogue. How are you, Dennis? Welcome.
I'm great, thanks, Avon. Thanks for having me on.
No worries at all. And today, we're going to talk about strategic sales and marketing. Today's episode is sponsored by ripperhosting.com.au, fast Australian servers for when it counts. All right, so, briefly we were talking earlier about, obviously we're sort of both in that marketing game, and we talked about relationships and who would think that it's actually important. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, Avon, as you well know, relationships are the core of success of any business. I think it's a shame, especially in the SME or local business space, that businesses get trapped into what I call the activity trap. They're focused on running the business, and they lose sight of really what the business is about. And at the end of the day, every business is about serving a customer, because if you're not serving a customer, who's paying you? And it's that relationship that's critical to success, rather than the transactions that generate revenue. The engine room of that is the relationship that underpins those transactions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, lately I've had a lot of people ask me, can you scrape a list off LinkedIn, or can you get it from the web, or, I want to turn ads on, and why is my inbox now full of people that can't wait to do business with me? It's like, hold on, that just gets you a whole bunch of names who people probably didn't want to be bothered anyway. That doesn't actually give you someone that knows who you are, is interested in wanting to meet you. Like the dating example is the perfect example.
Yeah.
You don't go, hey, want to have kids, to some random in the line at Woolies. There's a few steps to go through. So what about some little bit about that in terms of existing versus new?
Yeah, look, I think that, again, businesses, far too many businesses focus on building their revenues by attracting new customers. And you see it time and time again that the business invests heavily, and it does cost money to attract new customers. When in actual fact, they could probably increase their revenues. Well, not probably, definitely increase their revenues, and most definitely increase their profitability by doing more business with the people that already know them, their existing customers. Yeah. And when I sit down with my clients and potential clients, one of the first things I get them to talk about is, who are they doing business with at the moment, and what does that look like? Because once you start analyzing that and exploring that relationship, all sorts of opportunities start popping up. And because these people already know you, you don't have to go through the, here's who we are, here's what we do, here's why you should be doing business with us, because they've already covered off on all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, anecdotally, it's a well-known statistic, recognizing that statistics can be twisted any way you want, but it's a well-known statistic that, depending on the industry, it costs you between 3 and 6 times more to attract a new customer than it does to increase your transactions with an existing customer.
I've got similar stats sort of saved in my memory somewhere, and that one was 8 times more to acquire a new customer and 16 times more likely to buy. But again, it like you said, it depends on who's doing the study, the size of the audience being taken into consideration. But nonetheless, it costs more to get new customers, a lot more. And then it makes it, then they're harder to convince, or they're like the cold calling feels horrible to do, feels horrible to say. It's like standing on the corner of Eagle Street in Brisbane, handing out flyers next to a bin a meter away. Half of them will drop it on the ground in disgust. Some will look at you and walk faster or cross the street. Others will just chuck it straight in the bin. So no, there's definitely something to be said for some form of relationship.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think, for the people that are tuning into the podcast, a little experiment that they can do quite easily that demonstrates the emphasis that business puts on the attraction of new customers is have a look at a few ads, whether they're on YouTube, in the press, online, doesn't matter, and ask yourself, who are these ads aimed at? Are they aimed at a new customer or an existing customer? And look, well over 70% of them are going to be aimed at a new customer. And I've lost count of the number of times I've been dealing with a business and I see a great offer, and the telcos are fabulous at this, right? So Optus goes out there and says, hey, sign up with us, join our mobile plan, and we'll give you this great deal. Now, I'm an Optus customer, and I phone Optus and say, that's a fabulous deal. I'd like to get that. And they say, no, well, you can't have that deal because you're already a customer. Well, I mean, it's the wrong emphasis. You know? You're far better to give your best deals to your existing customers, because they're the ones that are the backbone of your business.
And they'll never switch.
Exactly. I mean, the insurance industry is another classic of this, you know, where they quote super low premiums to attract people in, but they put existing premiums to existing customers up. You know, it's putting the things the wrong way around.
And there's vanity feel-good marketing as well. Like I once spoke to a lawyer who'd got a billboard, and he's a small family lawyer, sole operator, and he spent $16,000 on this billboard, moved it 4 times, and didn't get one sale in 3 months. So I don't know why he would have jumped straight to billboard as being a fantastic sort of thing. It's like with insurance providers, they're just there to remind you that you've got insurance and that it's a service that you've kind of paid for, and it's sitting in the background. And if you completely forget about it, you'll never use it, never call upon it, and never want to upgrade, change, or buy more of it. You'll just go, oh, well, I didn't need it anyway. So I think that those, you know, there are a lot of law firms with billboards, and unless you're turning over, you know, 20 million or more, don't bother. If you're not a household name.
And Avon, I think you raise a really excellent point there, in that there are far too many businesses investing in marketing in a really slap shot way. They try a little bit of this and a little bit of that, you know, because somebody's told them, usually the advertising salesperson, that this is the way for them to go. You know, the bottom line with any marketing is that you've really got to do it on a coordinated basis. It's got to be part of an overall strategy. You know, you don't make sales in a haphazard way. You know, you build up some momentum, you build up some credibility, you know, and you've got to be going in on the right mediums at the right time with the right message.
Perfect example of that was a tweet recently put out. I can't remember the company. I think it might have even been Hungry Jack's. And there was an article on the newspaper, and obviously article headlines need to be attention grabbing. So it's like, women belong in the kitchen. And then it had a whole article about how, and it was for Women's Day, and it was saying how, you know, they don't belong in the kitchen. This was the old thoughts, and these are the new thoughts, and this is why, and, you know, we've transformed our society. But then when they changed the medium to a tweet, all the tweet said was women belong in the kitchen. Of course, they got so much blowback because they did not consider the medium that it was going on, and it was not coordinated. It was hit, copy, and send out on all platforms.
Yep, definitely, definitely. And that's a big business. You would think that they've got people with smarts that would be covering that, you know. But it just goes to show that when it comes to building a business, whether you're starting off from scratch or whether you've got an existing business, you know, it takes a lot of thought, a lot of planning, and a well articulated and structured strategy. It's not just about the action that you take. It's about the objectives that underpin that action.
And you would have thought, like, obviously Hungry Jack's being a shadow brand of McDonald's, that their marketing would be the easiest, because if Macca's comes out with the Angus burger, well, for certain, you know, in 3 months or whatever, so is Hungry Jack's. They're going to come out with the Angus burger, or very shortly after. They don't have to have an ideas spot. They just have to have a, how do we tweak their ad spot?
Yep.
And that one, you know, Women's Day is every year. You've got time to think about it. It's like when people do marketing, they're like we've got a client, unfortunately, they gave us the 12 days of Christmas, 2 days at a time. And we got the New Year's Day email on New Year's Day. So it's been very hard for us to put that content together. So when you're talking about coordinate approach, my advice would be plan it out. It's coming up 12 months in advance. You could probably write them, with at least 3 months out from when you're actually going to hit the publish button. You've got time to think about it and time to mix it in with all those other channels.
Yeah.
So plan ahead.
Yeah, definitely.
That's probably more of a tactical approach rather than a strategy, but very important advice.
Oh yeah, look, definitely. And the other thing that I would stress is that, whilst a business owner knows their own business really well, they often don't know their customer base as well. Certainly not as well as they should. So when it comes to putting their marketing strategies together to stimulate sales, they should always get, wherever they possibly can, an independent appraisal as to, are they on the right track? Is this the right message? Is this the right medium? And these days, there are a lot of independent consultants out there that don't charge an arm and a leg, that will help them with that. And again, I think this is a common mistake that local businesses make, is that they think they have to do everything themselves. And in today's environment, and especially with technology, I mean, this podcast is all about, sales and technology and marketing. With the technology out there now, it is just unforgivable to go into any sort of campaign without getting that third-party input.
And I think you raise a valid point. And I think there's a term, it's called attribution error. In terms of talking about technology, and, yes, there is a massive shift on that. And that's one of the things that is fundamentally changing the way we do marketing and the way we talk with customers, the way we structure our businesses, and the way that we integrate with, your customers' everyday life. And I think that, there is still a very large portion of people that don't have phones, don't have like smartphone, don't have internet, don't have certain things. And I think that, when you're looking at your target market and you jump onto Google or LinkedIn or, Facebook, and you're looking at those ads account statistics, now there's some bias in that depending on how you targeted those ads, that's going to say who's clicked on your ads. So maybe you did a very Gen Y kind of a text, and so you get a lot of Gen Y people click on it, but then don't actually buy. So you might say, oh, our target market's Gen Y because they're interested. No, that was a result of your targeting, not an independent study. The other one being that perhaps you think that all your conversions came from online because they clicked the link or they clicked the button or they went to the website, when really, perhaps for those bigger ones, they saw a magazine, they spoke to another customer, they saw a billboard, they kind of saw it and touched your product in a shop somewhere and spoke to a salesperson before ever getting online and going, click, I'm going to buy.
Yep.
So independent study, very, very, very important. So speaking of technology, what's your opinion on how technology is changing the way we market?
Oh, look, I think, as every day, with each day that passes, technology is embedding itself further and further. And I think it's both a good thing and a not so good thing. On the good side, never before in the history of business globally, but especially within Australia, because we are very fast at uptaking technology. One of the fastest Western nations on the planet at uptaking technology. But it's sort of like, picture 20, 30 years ago when television was king, right? If you really wanted to make a splash with marketing, you had a TV commercial. Why? Because everybody watched the TV, especially at news time, right? So, which is why TV commercials at news time are so expensive, right? But move on. Look, if you went to a local business back in the 1980s and said, I will give you 25, 30-second commercials on television for free, they would jump at it and go, you beauty, I can increase my sales this way. And yet those same people, when you say to them, you need to think about social media to promote your business, turn around and say, oh no, social media, it's a waste of time. People waste their time on that. That's not the point. Whether people are wasting their time or not on social media, they are on social media. They're not watching television anymore.
Well, they're wasting time if they're watching Married at First Sight. So what's the difference?
Yeah, exactly. It's not about whether they're wasting time or not. It's about where is your audience. And more of your audience now is on social media. So if you're not on social media to some extent or another, you can bet your life your competitors are. So your customers are seeing your competitors and they're not seeing you. By default, you're going to lose business. So I'm not saying to everybody, go out on social media tomorrow, but I am saying that as a part of your overall marketing strategy, you need to ask the question, how relevant is social media for our target market? And for the majority of businesses, the answer to that question is extremely relevant and getting more so with each week that passes by.
Oh yes, definitely, and particularly since the start of 2020 kind of changed the way that people shop. I know that my in-laws have never, my father-in-law has never bought anything online, doesn't want to, refuses to, so he'll go out and go shop to shop and see and touch the product and make a decision. However, the online sales were already on a massive trend, and bricks and mortar sales were on a massive decline. So now that has just jumped even faster, and the rate of people are 51% of the way through the buyer journey before they talk to a salesperson. So they've already scoped it out online, watched 10 YouTube videos on the product, seen reviews, got some feedback from some other people, asked questions in a forum, and by the time they actually want to go and see the product, they're just going, what's the weight, does it fit in my bag, and do I like the color? That's pretty much it.
Yep, definitely. And further to that, Avon, there are businesses out there that don't exist today because of COVID, but not just because of COVID. If you take hospitality, restaurants, cafes, takeaways, the ones that had the capacity to quickly shift and pivot and provide contact to their clients online are still in business. But the ones that didn't have that online presence, they're gone, because they couldn't process business when people couldn't leave their homes. Now, that's an extreme circumstance, and we hope it doesn't happen again, but it does demonstrate the power of an online presence. Simply, if you are not online, you're what I would call a zombie business, right? You might still be in existence, but the reality is you are the walking dead, because in a very short space of time, you're not going to be around anymore.
Well, it's the new brick and mortar. Like I know a commercial kitchen that has done extremely well, purely because through COVID, through Uber Eats and what have you, they don't actually need a retail food space. So they don't need to pay high street rents for a restaurant that's well designed. They've got literally a community kitchen from I think it's even a bowls club, and it's just because it's a commercial kitchen. It's got the facilities, all of their menu, all of their images look great online. You order them through Uber Eats, you get your product, you pay the money. They don't have the cost base. The food cost is commensurate with the market. And now there's even a company that opened technically 300 stores overnight, a new franchise in the US. They basically become a product franchise into a range of other kitchens that have capacity. So say, for example, if you did have the Mexican restaurant on the corner, you've got then spare space on your grill or whatever that's not being taken up by your dinner customers or lunch customers. Uber Eats, now you can use that, you can sell that product through those, Menulog, Uber Eats, or any of those other delivery ones, just because they've signed up as a product franchise to that main brand. So they basically called up all of these restaurants, they got a celebrity endorsements, and then they released it overnight, and all of a sudden this product is now listed online, and you can just jump on Uber Eats and order it. You can't actually go in and order it on any restaurant site.
Right. Yeah.
So genius.
Yeah, definitely.
Zero cost.
I mean, there's a classic case of, you know, a business pivoting during COVID in Melbourne, a restaurant chain called Atlas, and they're very much a high-end restaurant experience, right? So the food is absolutely, you know, it's Michelin star rated and all of this sort of stuff. Now you can imagine what COVID, and we're talking Melbourne here, so they were shut down for a long time, what COVID does to a business like that. It totally destroys it. And the owner and head chef of Atlas, Charlie, his surname escapes me, he sat down and realized that his business was in real trouble because his business was all about the experience, and people can't go out. They're in lockdown. So what's he going to do? He came up with a genius concept, had a chat to his staff. They modified their menu slightly, and they started putting together YouTube clips on how people can make their own Atlas meal at home using the Atlas menu packs that they would put together and sell online. Now, it helped that this guy had a social media presence with 40-odd thousand subscribers, but he quickly put that out in mid-April. By the end of June, they were turning over more with their restaurant closed than they were when the restaurant was open pre-COVID, because he shifted the experience from his restaurant to the person's home. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And there's all sorts of examples of how businesses have been able to improve when all of those around them are falling over, by just thinking, who's my market? What are we really marketing here? And what mediums do we need to be on to make sure that our people know what we're doing, you know? And Charlie, with his Atlas restaurant concept, really nailed that. And there's a number of businesses that have done the same.
Yeah, absolutely. That's some really clever stuff. So what would be the keys to success to you know, pulling something like that off?
Yeah, look, I don't think so much about diving in to do lots of action. You know, when people want to improve sales, they send letters out, they send emails out, they do this, they do that, because they figure that the more they do, the better the results are going to be. Well, when it comes to marketing, it's a classic case of less is often more. It's about developing an effective strategy. And I always recommend to my clients and potential clients that, first of all, let's look at who we're doing business with now. Let's see how we can increase the value of that relationship. How can we build that relationship? How can we get those people to spend a little bit more with us? One, because it costs us less to be able to do that, but two, they're less prone to competitive influences. So it's a great way to build the business quickly. Once we've got that sort of campaign underway, we can then ask ourselves, okay, where are some additional customers that look like the ones that we've already got, but currently don't know anything about us? Where would we need to go, and what would we need to say in order to attract them to what we're doing? So I always recommend that when businesses are looking to increase sales, look first to your existing customer base, and then once you've got that humming, then look to attract new customers, not the other way around. And do it with the input from somebody that knows what they're talking about.
I think that's pretty cool.
Whatever plan you come up with, get an expert to have a look at it for you to make sure that it is a sensible plan. So it's really about success in growing the business is not about what you do, it's about how you plan. Because everything that you do is going to stem from that plan.
I can't remember the name of it, but there's a movie, I think it's got Kevin Costner in it, and it's about these ghosts, and he hears these voices. It's like, if you build it, they will come.
Field of Dreams.
That's the one. The same does not go for marketing.
Yeah, definitely.
If you build a baseball field in the middle of nowhere, all you're going to get is ghosts, which could be equated to people who, you know, click and like and, you know, clickboards and all these sorts of things, who are paid for traffic, or people that just look at your site that aren't qualified, aren't the right person, not in the buying time frame, not in the buying mood, I guess. and yeah, totally the wrong person. So a lot of words of advice there. Thank you very much, Dennis. So I guess if you're listening and you want to find out more about Dennis, you can go to directdialogue.com.au. And now in the comments of this, we're going to put the website and Dennis's LinkedIn URL into the comments, so you can always go and connect and say good day to Dennis. So thank you again for listening to the podcast. And if you have any questions or if you would like to be a guest, you can check out relevate.com.au and fill out the contact form. Otherwise, thank you for listening and take care. You can learn more about implementing scalable systems in your business with our book, The Business Octopus, where you can learn how to give your business a brain and teach it to grow itself. You can get your copy from relevate.com.au/octopus. You can also find answers and ask questions in our online community at support.relevate.com.au.